Go for it.
All right, so this is kind of a combination of two different classes, shopping online and buying a device. This is definitely one that whatever you put in, you'll kind of get out of it because I'm going to leave time to go over specific things. So if you have a suggestion for something you want to see how I would approach buying it online, feel free to ask. And as always, if Mary has your email, then she can send you the links to the slides. Actually, I'll have Mary send out 3 different set of slides just to overwhelm you with information. And she'll also be able to send out the recording of this event to you guys as well. So kind of one of the reasons why I like this class, particularly now, is you don't have to leave your house to go buy things. And I know some people, to get into the holiday spirit, one of the things they'll do is they'll go out and they'll buy gifts for everybody for the holiday season. And that has kind of turned into not the best idea. So online seems to be the way to go. But as always, anything online has risks. Whenever you're buying something, kind of make sure you're going with a brand or a company that you recognize. For example, if you buy something from Best Buy, Amazon, Target, Walmart, you're pretty sure that you're going to get it. If you buy something from eBay or from Joe's, tech shop, you may not get that item. So just make sure the bigger the brand, the more consistent your experience will be. First thing, and I'm kind of going to blaze through all this stuff because all of it's linked, so you can go through afterwards and kind of figure out what to use based on what you think you'll need. But there are a couple different things we'll go over. Deal aggregators and price checkers. These are basically tools you can use to either see a bunch of things that are on sale at once, or to check and make sure that the price of an item is actually a good price. So one of the things some retailers will do is they will mark something. If something has been selling for a year at $50, they will mark it up to $75 and then give you 25% off of it. So it looks like you're getting, a sale price, but the sale price is actually higher than the normal price. And things specifically like camel, and honey will allow you to see the price history of an item to make sure that it hasn't gone up in price and then down in price to make you think you're getting a good deal. Another thing is promotions. So those emails you get, or those, real mail kind of pamphlets you get, should you sign up for them? And my response to that is, if you like the product or the company, sure. If not, don't bother. And if your email feels like you're getting too many emails about, you get one from Levi's, you get one from Macy's, you get one from XYZ every single day, you can always hit unsubscribe. And if unsubscribe doesn't work, you can mark it as spam, and then your email will automatically start filtering those messages away. Payment options. So basically, whenever you look at a website, in the top left-hand corner near where the website name is located, there should be a little green icon, like a green lock. And that'll kind of show you that the page is secure. And we'll go over that in a little bit. One of the payment options I really like is PayPal, primarily because you're protected whenever you use a credit card online, and you're also protected whenever you use PayPal online. So if you use both, you're protected twice, is the way I look at it. Fraud protection, a lot of credit cards already have that. Credit cards, again, don't use a debit card, essentially is what I'm trying to say. Debit card, as soon as the money has left your account, it's gone. So if you can, use a credit card when paying online. So now we're going to go over like the different types of businesses. First one is online only. So for example, unless you count Whole Foods, Amazon is online only. So this is probably the biggest online retailer in North America. I believe China has a much larger one, but that's kind of difficult to get into. And one of the benefits of shopping with Amazon is if you have a Prime membership, you get a couple of features. One of them is the free 2-day Prime shipping, or if you're in a very convenient location like I am, you get same-day shipping, which still kind of boggles my mind. I'll order batteries in the morning and I'll get them by noon. It's crazy to me. Amazon also gives you the opportunity to look at reviews. So you no longer have to go into Best Buy and ask one of the workers, hey, what do you think about this product? And they may or may not know, but they're still going to answer you. You can look at a review of something on Amazon and you can read 200 or 2,000 other people's opinions on the product before you buy it. One thing I like to do is I only shop Amazon Prime items. This means that the item is from Amazon, it's shipped by Amazon, it's sold through Amazon, not a third party. This makes, if you have a bad experience, it makes it a lot easier to get your money back or to get a new product shipped. Now, Amazon Prime is a subscription based. I think it's around $120 a year. It's personally worth it for me. With it, you get the 2-day shipping, you get Amazon TV, and you also have Amazon, their cloud storage, which allows you to store all of your photos for free. But that's a different class. Another one that some people like is eBay. One thing I will say with eBay is it's kind of unregulated. eBay does err on the side of the people purchasing an item. But one thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure that the product name matches the pictures, because sometimes people can try and pull a fast one by having a different product than what you're actually getting listed, because it only matters what's listed. That's the product you're going to get, not what is pictured. eBay will also allow you to look at the ratings of the individual sellers. And one thing I would highly recommend with eBay, if you use it, is to look at the delivery time, because sometimes you'll buy an item and it will say it's being shipped from China and it will get to you in 2 months. And if you're buying something specifically for a gift, you definitely want to make sure that you get the item on time. Now, this is kind of the secondhand market, so Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. I personally don't use this that much, but for example, if you're looking for something like a KitchenAid stand mixer that are normally like $200, sometimes someone will have one and it works perfectly fine. They just don't use it anymore and you can pick it up for $100. This is kind of if you want to do this, you probably already know how to do it, but this is for secondhand items. And one thing I will say is if you meet in person from one of these services, you can meet in the Peterborough Police Department's side lot. And that way you're not telling someone to come to your home. You're not meeting someone somewhere that you're unfamiliar with. You're showing up at a police station. The potential for something to go wrong is drastically reduced, in my opinion. The next thing we're going to go over are sellers that are online and brick and mortar, and these have a couple of benefits. One of these stores is Costco. There's one in Nashua, so I understand it's probably not the most convenient, but the benefit of Costco is any tech item you get has an increased 2-year warranty. And if you have an issue with an item, you can either bring it directly to Costco or you can ship it back and they will refund your money or give you a new one, kind of no questions asked. In the past, they've actually had an issue with this, kind of hilariously, where people would buy Christmas trees, use them, and then return them after Christmas had ended.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they had to change that policy. But for pretty much everything else, it's a very simple bring it back and they'll replace it. Another one is Best Buy. So this is kind of if you're looking for home appliances or technology items. The biggest benefit of this is you can buy online and pick it up in store. And if you have an issue, you can also just bring it to a store and get a much faster turnaround. Whereas with Amazon or online retailers, sometimes what will happen is you'll have to ship it back, which will take a week. They'll review it, which will take a week, and then they'll send you the new item, which will take a week. So you'd no longer have that item for 3 weeks. Whereas Best Buy, you just bring it to a Best Buy and they give you a new one. I like to add Macy's just to show that I'm more versatile than just tech items. So Macy's is very similar to Best Buy, where you can buy it online, you can return it to a Macy's store, and you also have the ability, once the pandemic, isn't a thing, of kind of browsing, which I know is it's a different experience than looking online, because you can actually touch and feel things to make sure that you're getting what you want. There are a couple of new ways of shopping that we'll quickly go over. The first one is group buying. So if you've ever been to an online retailer or something where if you buy over 10 of the item, it's cheaper, but you only want one. Basically, what group buying is a group of people get together and they buy an item in a mass quantity, so everyone gets a cheaper price. The negatives about group buying are that you won't get the item as fast, but for like really high-end electronics, specifically things like headphones, this will save a bunch of money. And we're talking about like if it's like a $3,000 item, you'll save like $500 to $700. So fairly significant for someone like me, but just realize that it will take longer to ship. The next one is subscription. So this has been gaining in popularity over the past couple of years as people run out of things to buy other people. And one of the things it allows you to do, for example, the first one on this list is bespoke post. I actually used this for my dad for a time, because it was random stuff that I never really would have thought of as gift ideas, but sounded cool. So my dad likes Scotch. And one of the things was a kind of a make your own. So you got, different tasting samples and different stuff. So it was a really unique item that I just never would have picked up. I bought my father-in-law a champagne saber, which is a sword for taking the cork out of the champagne. And to this date, he still references it whenever someone else buys him a gift, that it isn't as good as the champagne saber.
Very impressive.
So, I mean, what can I say? But generally, these things are more like Blue Apron or Dollar Shave Company or something like that, where it's an item that you normally buy multiple times a year. So if you just subscribe to it, it's a little bit cheaper and you automatically get it. So you don't have to think about purchasing it again. Last one is pre-group buying / wholesale. So in the current model, basically a company will make a product. Another company will then buy the product and sell the product, and then you will buy the product. So there's that middleman. So what I mean by wholesale is these businesses make something and then ship it directly to you, kind of bringing out the middleman and theoretically causing the prices to be lower. So these are more for generally higher end items. I can't pronounce the first one. Beckett Simone is essentially shoes, Gustin is clothing, and Kickstarter is whatever. But basically the idea is you give the money directly to the company and they give you a product that's cheaper and higher, theoretically higher or the same quality as a more expensive brand. All right, so this is primarily for eBay, but I'm going to talk about free shipping. With Amazon, you get free shipping over a certain amount or free shipping if you have Amazon Prime. With eBay and other retailers, sometimes you'll see an item that you want. Say the item is $20. You'll go to the shipping page and it will be $15 shipping. which then doesn't make sense to buy the item. So just make sure that you look at the shipping cost before you buy something online. This is probably, and I fully realize I'm going through this. Hopefully no eyes are glazing over. So the question is, do you want to buy an expensive item or a cheap item? The Harbor Freight method, which I thought was more well-known than apparently it is, but the Harbor Freight method references a toolkit, and you can apply this to pretty much anything. But you go to Harbor Freight and you buy a toolkit, and that toolkit is cheap. It is not the best quality toolkit in the world. But what you do is you use that toolkit, and whatever tools break, you know that you actually use that tool, and then you buy the more expensive version of that item. So you don't always need to buy, the best blender. You don't always need to buy the best washing machine. You don't always need to buy the best X, Y, or Z, because it may turn out that you just don't use it enough, or you don't push it to its limits, or whatever the reason, you actually don't need that more expensive item. For example, if you're buying a handbag for it to go on vacation, you don't really need to buy a super expensive one if all you're going to do is use it for that 1 week period of time and then realize that you're not really a handbag type person. Not that that comes from personal experience, having been married. All right. So, but wait, there's more. After this, I kind of have a lot of links. And as you may or may not know, primarily I know a lot about technology and kind of different companies and what to buy when it comes to anything that plugs in, essentially, is how you can think of it. So some of the links I have below won't fit your specific need, but that's why we have a class where you guys can talk back and give different opinions. So this is also for after the class. If you realize, oh, but I didn't really have time, you can email Mary and ask her to ask me for suggestions. So for example, if you're looking at a new laptop, you'll want to say what type of computer you want. You want either you want a laptop, a desktop, and if it's a laptop, what size of a laptop, because there's a huge difference between like a 13-inch laptop and a 17-inch laptop. The 17-inch laptop, you're not really taking it anywhere, whereas the 13-inch laptop, you're going to the coffee shop every day kind of thing. What are you going to use it for, and what's your budget? And I know a lot of people are picky about telling what their budget is ahead of time, because, if you say you're willing to spend $1,000 on something, well, miraculously, whatever the person recommends is going to be $1,000. Everything's going to match that. But I'm not really making money off this. So just whatever your budget is, I'll just try and make sure it goes under. This is a page kind of if you're going off on your own and trying to buy a laptop. These are kind of the specs that you're going to want to look for. So you're going to want either an i5 or an i7, 10th gen, 8 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, and all of these numbers can be bigger. I just don't recommend you go with a smaller number. And then I give a link to the option I would buy if my laptop died today. And then I give you the brands that I like. And as always, or not as always, because it's the first time of mentioning this, but if you have the option to buy something, you generally want to buy the enterprise, business, or whatever grade, the higher tier above consumer, just because those items are generally built to last a little bit better. Does anyone have any questions so far before I kind of dig into various links?
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to, or you can put it in chat, either way.
Yeah, Tim, this is Kath Allen. Just have a question. I'm not ready to buy one now, but my small laptop, my icons for photos, I can't see what I'm really looking at. Do the bigger laptops have more visible icons?
Yeah, so bigger laptops will have like a larger percentage that stuff is sized. So, the difference between like a smaller screen and a bigger screen is fairly significant. The other thing I always recommend is just buying a monitor. So you can have the portability of a laptop, but if you're kind of sitting at a desk, you can still have the huge monitor that makes it easy to see everything. And I think that's like a best of both worlds scenario.
But you can't hook a bigger laptop monitor to the little laptop, right? You've got to have a desktop.
Nope. So you can hook a big monitor to a small laptop. So currently at work, for example, I have the option to use a 14-inch screen size laptop, but I actually have two 32-inch monitors that are connected to the laptop. So I have a lot of screen real estate.
Does that make sense, Kath?
Yeah, but it's kind of like there is room to hook up these little tiny laptops to have more input. So you'd have to put in something that's like a 4-way or whatever.
What he's talking about is just a monitor. I do this at work
Right.
at the library as well, and it's very helpful because I have a small laptop that I bring home with me. But at work, I plug it into my monitor and I can see everything. It's the scale is much better.
Yeah, so if you look at this image, kind of the picture in picture, on the left-hand side of the computer, there are a bunch of inputs. I can tell right now that the one that is in the middle is an HDMI input, which would allow you to connect a large monitor to the laptop. So pretty much all laptops will have the ability to connect to a larger monitor. And for example, that monitor can be your TV. So yes, we do live in a day and age where if you're on a Zoom call, everyone's picture can be life-sized. What a year to be alive.
That's frightening. Absolutely frightening. Does anyone else have?
Just Tim, just real quick, kind of what's a ballpark for a decent monitor price?
That's a great question. So for like a 24-inch monitor, I generally buy them around $80 to $100. So
Wow.
this one is 21 inches and it's $100, but you can find ones that are 24 inches and $80. And then I generally buy 4 or 5 for work.
Tim, do you have a brand of monitor that you prefer?
Yeah, so I prefer BenQ monitors. And one of the reasons I prefer BenQ monitors is that they're priced very competitively and they have really good blue eye adaptive brightness, which essentially means if you ever late at night or if you're ever on the computer for a long amount of time and your eyes start to feel that kind of strain, like you're not tired, but they just kind of hurt a little. I've found for me personally that their adaptive brightness and blue light thing helps. So I went from kind of at the end of my workday, my eyes hurt, to now I can go all day and my eyes don't feel any strain. So not to sell you on a particular brand, but that's the reason why I buy that brand, is price and my eyes don't hurt.
That's great to know. Does anyone else have any questions about laptops?
And we can definitely circle back at the end for more questions.
Does it matter what brand it is to be compatible with Apple products?
No. I mean, in 99% of cases, no. I have yet to kind of experience that in the past 10 years, but there may be that one monitor out there that doesn't have compatibility. So I don't want to say with absolute certainty it works, but I have yet to find something that doesn't.
Fabulous.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect. So again, a lot of these are links. So on this laptop page, for example, If my home laptop died today, what would I buy? You can click on the link. Nope, apparently I forgot to change that one. But I'll change that after this class. So whenever I say buy enterprise, this is Lenovo's enterprise line. So you can link directly to that. This is Dell's business class line. So I linked you to that. So you can go through afterwards and click on all of these links that I don't happen to go over. Regarding laptops, I always want to spend the minute or so and talk about Chromebooks. And this can also apply to things like iPads. So increasingly, people do not necessarily need a full-fledged Windows or Mac laptop. A lot of what they do can be done in a browser. So the way to think about a Chromebook is anything you do online, a Chromebook can do. So if you spend your day on your computer, but you actually open up a browser like Edge, Firefox, or Chrome and do everything in that browser, then a Chromebook would be perfect. The reasons to get a Chromebook are essentially, the real reason is because it's cheaper. It's a heck of a lot cheaper, and it runs pretty darn fast, and the battery will last a decently long time. So the real reason to get a Chromebook is the price. They're just cheaper. I have two links right here. This one is a smaller Chromebook. So this is a 10-inch Chromebook for $290. And this one is a larger Chromebook for $379. I would never recommend buying a Windows laptop that's under $400 or $500 just because of your experience you'll have. But with Chromebooks, a low-priced option is fantastic, and you'll still have a good experience. So I just want to throw that out there, that if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a computer, you can always buy a Chromebook. And the same thing with an iPad. They're generally cheaper than computers. And if most of what you do is online, or your phone already has an app that you can use on it, a Chromebook would have, or an iPad would be a very good solution for you, mainly because you can get the much larger screen.
Tim, Kath here, just a couple of quick questions. How long should a Chromebook last?
Yeah, so, and I do see the question in the chat, and I'll get to that in a second. How long should a Chromebook last? Well, I view Chromebooks in a similar way that I view Apple or Macintosh laptops, in that they last too long. So with a Windows laptop, you buy it and 4 to 6, maybe 7 years in, it starts to get real slow and it kind of forces you to buy a new one. With a Chromebook, it will last longer than that. So the unit itself will last a very long time. I generally recommend buying things new every 5 to 6 years for laptops. So it'll last longer than that.
And then the other quick question is, you said that the enterprise and business was a grade above, was that commercial? You said to go that route because it was a grade above.
Yeah, it's above consumer. So it's kind of like if you're buying something like a blender or a kitchen utensil, and you can buy one for home use, or you can buy one that people use in an actual kitchen, commercial kitchen. I would buy the one that's used in a commercial kitchen, because there's no way in hell that I'm using a device more than an actual chef is. So it's kind of just stuff that's built for more repetitive use.
What's the difference between enterprise and business, and is it available on Apple computer?
Enterprise and business, really, there isn't a large distinction. It's just Lenovo goes with enterprise and Dell goes with business. So
for Apple, they would have business also.
Apple products, I would consider them all to be that higher grade, because you can't really buy a lower end Apple laptop or desktop.
Okay.
And to the question in chat, are they available?
Yeah.
Chromebooks.
Chromebooks are available. I believe these ones are, at least they were this morning. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely, one of the things with a Chromebook is make sure you have the size screen you want. This one is 10 inches, so it's a little bit small for me, but for some people that would be the perfect size. And I will say that as to the second part of the question or statement, that businesses and schools did buy a ton of laptops at the beginning of the pandemic, but supply has begun to catch up with demand, and there shouldn't be those, the huge issues with buying and finding things actually for sale, which is good. And and companies have definitely ramped up for the holiday, so stuff is in stock now. I've lost my mouse. There we go. All right. Next thing. If you're buying a desktop computer, so this is basically if you sit at a desk and you don't really need to move it, there's no real reason to buy a laptop. Desktop, I just have the general specs here as well. i7 or i5, AMD is a good option. RAM, solid state, and I have links to that. Break open the piggy bank. I have links here for if you kind of just want, to not really think too much about what you want and just buy something that has good reviews. I have stuff linked here. And I remember before, this is the TV type I generally recommend for people, the TCL, primarily because TCL is a panel manufacturer and they're good panels, so the TV actually looks good, and it has a Roku built in, which a lot of people find convenient. And as of today, it actually went out of stock on Amazon, but you can buy the 65-inch for $539.
It's a lot of TV.
Oh yeah. And yeah, and remember that you can use a TV as a external monitor if you want. Here are everything that I use. So if you really don't want to think about it and just figure if Tim bought it, it's good enough for him, I'll probably have a good experience. You can definitely click on these links and kind of just see what I use. And then phones, I realize we just had a class on that, but still in here. If you want the best deal on a phone, I personally wouldn't go below the iPhone SE for $400 or the Pixel 4a for, I think they lowered the price.
I think it's $379 now or something.
$349.
Oh, great.
So $349.
One note on the iPhone versus the Pixel 4a, if you smash your screen, which I happened to do last week, there's no one in New Hampshire that can replace the screen. You actually have to send it to Massachusetts. But if you have an iPhone, there are lots of places in New Hampshire that will replace the screen. Not that you're going to smash your screen, but it happens.
Yeah, and that's a purely hypothetical situation.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Except for Mary.
Yeah. So if you ask Mary, she can also send you the phone buying guide we went over, which was up to date as of the end of last month. It's still up to date. I double checked, where we go over kind of phones in greater detail. And around this time, the holiday season, you'll generally see a lot of phones go either $50 or $100 off, in case you were holding out for that little discount. I get asked about printers a lot, so I just put this slide in there. This is the printer that I would buy if my printer died today. It's just a really simple black and white printer. And the reason I like it is it just doesn't fail. It doesn't really mess up. So I just linked that. And then that is currently the end of this presentation. Earlier, Harry had a question that was emailed for kind of microphones for Zoom calls and stuff. Or sorry, not microphones, headphones.
Right.
So I'm going to have Mary send out this presentation as well, which is a presentation on basically everything you would need to get a better Zoom or remote meeting experience. And I have different situations for headsets. Like if you don't care about the looks, you can click on this link and buy this supremely large and ugly headset that is also apparently very comfortable and cheap. Or if you care about what you look like on the Zoom call, then you can buy earbuds that kind of just you put in your ear and then you can still hear everybody without having like sometimes a weird echo with your mic.
Oh,
But there are a lot of options here. And if anyone wants, I can go over this in more detail. But I definitely wanted to leave at least 23, yep, exactly 23 minutes for questions. And I will be here until 2:30. So if people want to stay and go absolutely crazy, going over specific items, I'd definitely be willing to do that. But this is kind of where other people can ask questions or other people can ask for specific examples.
That's great. Please do unmute yourself if you've got a particular item you're looking to buy. This is a good time. We'll all learn.
Hi, this is Joan. My computer broke months ago. I've had Lenovo after Lenovo after Lenovo, and I finally learned my lesson that they are about $1,000 a pop, and they last about 15 months, 18 months maybe. So I'm looking to get the very newfangled, not the MacBook Pro, the smaller version. What is that? The Mac? Just
The
MacBook?
Air.
The Air.
Yep.
I'm looking to get the Air. I'm older, so I will just slave it to a large monitor, which I will look further into what you recommended. How are they? I mean, can I use Reddit? Can I use any group buying option, or is that Apple product just out, so it's just the brand new pricing and that's the best you can get, or is there a way to find that to be a group buy and for less?
That's a great question, and that's a fairly common question. One fun thing about Apple computers is they hold their value like weirdly high, and you'll rarely see them go on any sort of significant sale.
Noticed.
Yeah. So there is a site my coworker uses. Let me see if I can just find that. Yep. Mac Rumors. They have a deal page on Apple products, and they update this every week. So, on November 20th, you can get up to $100 off on Apple's 2020 iPad Pro lineup. So you can kind of just keep looking at this page, and they'll update it. But realistically, you're not getting more than $50, $100, or sometimes $150 off of an Apple laptop.
So my concern with that would be, it's like you want to capture it from a store. So if you have a problem, you could bring it back or ask a question. You don't want to get it from somewhere. You want to get it from some place you can go and touch them and say, tell them your troubles.
And I could not agree more. So basically, my personal favorite place to buy MacBooks and Mac products is either the Apple Store, but I also live in Nashua, so I'm right by the mall, or Best Buy. And I like Best Buy because if you're a student, not that I'm telling you to do this because it may or may not be unethical, but Best Buy has no actual check to see if you're a student or not. So if you just say you're a student, you get their $100 or $150 off of a computer sometimes. And you can buy it from Best Buy that way.
I'm always learning.
Yep. But I definitely didn't tell anyone to do that.
No.
Plus, I
Only
want to
if
make
you're a student.
I want to make a plug
Yeah.
for Costco for Apple products because
Yep.
you do get more. Sometimes it's the warranty, but also sometimes you get more storage for the same price. So it's worth looking into.
Yep.
Okay.
Best Buy and Costco are both fantastic. I don't think Costco has the new Mac lineup yet.
No, they don't. I've checked.
I think Best Buy does though.
Okay.
Okay,
But
because I've been
yes.
looking, I'm sorry, closely at the MacBook Air and the Pro. It seems to be a $300 difference between the new M1 chip that's supposed to be cooler, faster, no fan, and less breakage and whatever. Is that $300 worth it as far as double the RAM or double the, is that good? What do you think?
Yeah. So Apple recently came out with the MacBook Air and some of the MacBook Pros with the new M1 chip. I don't really see a reason to not buy the M1 chip. From all the benchmarks I've seen, Apple has produced a chip that is stronger, better, faster, all of the buzzwords, and it's actually true, which is fantastic. The battery life is stupid, apparently. Like people will charge it on Wednesday and realize on Friday that maybe I should plug it in tonight. So I think it's absolutely phenomenal what they've done. The MacBook Air has 0 fans, which essentially means it's extremely quiet. And you also don't have to deal with stuff getting in the fan. Like, you don't have to blow it out with like a pressurized air thing or whatever. The negative thing and the reason to buy the MacBook Pro over the MacBook Air is the fan. So what the Air does is if the processor is running hard, it will lower the voltages in the processor to lower the heat. Whereas in the MacBook Pro, it will turn on the fan. So if you're doing stuff like video editing or something particularly strenuous on the computer, the Pro will go at full speed for longer than the MacBook Air. But if you're kind of using it for web browsing, then the MacBook Air is cheaper, and I would go with that.
Okay, I was looking the Air versus the Pro, and it's $300 for the Pro versus the Air. And I think my money would be better spent on the $100 of Apple service for a year to teach me how to use it right, get all my devices connected, maybe, have a family plan where my son took his Air and dumped a hot chocolate on his keyboard and use that, rather than spend $300 on the Pro. I always underutilize any computer before it breaks or it's outdated. That maybe my $100 might be spent better in service, learning how to use what I've got and fix things that I've got and connecting my family's toys all together. What do you think?
Yeah, so if you think you'll use the extra warranty, then I definitely recommend buying the extra warranty.
I've got teens.
The couple of things I will say about the base Air, which is $999, is that it comes with 250 gigs of storage. If you store videos or if you take photos, you may want to up that to the 512 version, which is a fairly significant increase of $300, unfortunately.
You have Amazon Prime, which stores lots of photos for us.
Amazon Prime stores everything unlimited for photos, which is fantastic. And then the other thing I would say is if you're the type of person who wants to keep a computer for more than 5 or 8 years, like we're talking really long computer usage, then I would recommend getting 16 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
Just to kind of future-proof it, because you cannot upgrade this later. So 16 gigs of RAM is what I would recommend.
Okay. And what does the Pro come with?
The Pro comes with the Pro is the exact same thing right here. But I can definitely go over and double check.
because my Lenovo's have been just disposable after a year and a half. They're just, what I've been told is I do not have a good surge protector. So I get a surge and the motherboard of my Lenovo dies. It becomes, it never starts. It's non-functional.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, surge protectors are important. You can go absolutely crazy and buy something like this.
This is Kath. My niece had a Mac for 15 years before she had to replace it.
Yeah, great. That sounds awesome. Mine I could build a house with the bricks of dead laptops.
These are what I use at work. So $60, and this basically means if your house gets hit by lightning, theoretically anything that's plugged into this thing should be fine.
Do they last for a long time? Do they have like, someone explained to me that surge protectors, if they get hit by surge after surge, you can imagine, something hitting it with a hammer. Every time it gets hit, it's a little destroyed.
Yeah, so let me put it to you in the way an insurance adjuster I dealt with put it to me.
Okay.
Once something gets hit by lightning and it survives and it still works, the surge protector, replace it. Otherwise, we won't cover it.
Tim, this is Kath. You're talking about these things here. You got one for $60. I picked up something at Bill Tate's, and it's supposed to be a good surge protector, but of course it's not $60. How good are those? I actually had some I bought that they kept tripping off, so I had to go get a better one.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here are actually battery backups. So basically inside this thing is a huge battery. So if you lose power, it benefits your computer or whatever is plugged into it in multiple ways. If your house gets struck by lightning, the surge doesn't go through and harm your equipment. And also if you lose power, your computers or whatever is connected to it doesn't automatically just shut off. And sometimes, depending on what a computer is doing, if it gets shut off, it can hurt the computer just as much as a surge. So this kind of protects both ways. But if we're talking about just surge protectors, they're a lot cheaper.
How do you know if it's been hit and when you should get rid of it? Is there any device that gives you a clue? It's like, yeah, it's dying. I mean, someone said like, keep it 3 years and replace it. It's like, well, if you get hit twice in the first month, those last 2.5 years aren't really worth it.
Yeah, so the APCs will emit a audible noise if something bad happens. Mary, Can you please describe if that noise is noticeable?
Yes, it is. I will guarantee you will notice. We love that at the library.
Yeah, so you'll know if you buy a battery backup, it really lets you know. Whereas on these units, if you notice the kind of switch in that light, that will flip. So if the light goes off and the thing flips and you're no longer receiving power, that means you got a surge that was enough that the device kind of shut off and protected your equipment. And then once that happens, you should replace it. But the bad thing is that can also happen because a cat touched it,
That's true. So there's a question in chat.
What's my opinion of Capital One price checking versus SpakeSpot and Camel? I personally have never used Capital One price checking, but I imagine it was similar to what Discover had, and they all work fine. I personally like FakeSpot because it just kind of integrates directly into Amazon. So for example, if I go back and I click on this, click on this one, it should pop up. So FakeSpot has graded this a B. You may think that a B isn't great, but trust me, comparatively, a B is fantastic. So FakeSpot thinks most of the reviews of this are legitimate, and it will also give you highlights. So if I click on highlights, sorry, it's kind of annoying with Honey and FakeSpot. If I click on highlights, and it'll kind of give you brief glimpses of information as opposed to reading through a lot of the reviews.
Did you have to type in fake spot on Amazon?
No, I actually just installed the browser plugin for FakeSpot, and it automatically works on a lot of different websites. Amazon is one of them. And then, yeah, if I just look at highlights, I can see our local electricity is of poor quality. I'm not sure why that gives this a negative review, because if your local electricity is of poor quality, this is exactly what you want. But you can kind of, it'll give you quick things on quality. And then there are different kind of reviews things down here, like shipping and price. So if someone says this is cheaper than this other thing, it'll pop up in FakeSpot.
And when you use things like slickdeals.net, is there a rating on there too?
So slickdeals.net is an aggregator of deals, and it doesn't really have that kind of rating system. But what you can do is, for example, if I look at this and I say, ooh, this is exactly the computer I want, I can click on it, and then people will be discussing it. If I scroll down, people will be discussing this this product, and they'll often say, you know, this is good or this is bad, or someone will answer a question where, you know, this has been the best computer I've ever had in my entire life, or they'll say, this thing died after 1 month of me owning it, stay away. So you can kind of look at these reviews. And then the other thing I do is, if I want this laptop, I would copy the title of it. I would go to Amazon, and then I would paste it in, and then I would look at reviews on the laptop. So 59 ratings, bunch of answered questions. Apparently it's pretty good. FakeSpot says it's pretty good. And then I can read all the reviews. And the first one is multiple problems, will return it, and Wi-Fi card broken. So maybe I won't buy this one. But that's how I would do it. So I would go to Slick Deals to find something, and then I would check on a site like Amazon that just has a lot of reviews for items.
Thank you.
Tim, what does it cost to for a Costco membership these days?
That's a great question. I believe if you want to be at the executive level, it is $150. And if you buy something expensive like a laptop or a TV, you generally get that money back. But let me not be too salesman-y, and just look it up.
I went there years ago with a friend. She had a membership, and but it was, everything was such in big quantities. Of course, I wasn't looking at electronics, but they were in such big quantities of buying things. Like, I didn't need 3 super surge size bottles of ketchup in order to buy ketchup.
Oh, and I definitely agree with that. You have to plan if you're going to be a Costco shopper for anything other than electronics. So the annual membership fee is $60.
Are there computer techs there?
Not at the one I'm near.
Okay.
So I don't believe that's a thing. I think they kind of just take it and replace it. Is their technical expertise.
Okay.
And isn't it all, are they still, it's kind of, is what is there when you go. It's not like you can look up, say, I really want this item, and expect to find it at Costco?
Oh, so Costco, they have, you know, places all over. So what you can do is you can go to the Costco website and order something and have it delivered for free to a store near you, or just delivered to you in general. But yeah, if you're going physically to a Costco location, they may not have everything because it's kind of like a rotating stock.
Does anybody have any more questions for Tim on various items they're looking to buy? Okay, this has been very helpful. Thank you, Tim.
I have just a question for Tim. When are you going to be back in again for a general inquisitiveness, a question?
I do not know. I mean, it was kind of trending towards not being a lockdown anymore. And then, the past 3 weeks have happened. And, now if I cross the border, I need to get a signed slip from somebody or other to say I'm not infected. So I actually have no earthly idea. But
Yep.
we always have the Wednesday drop-ins where we can meet virtually.
And if
Okay,
you-
that's what I was asking about, because I need help figuring out how to download my photos off my phone. So you're still doing Wednesdays at
12
it-
o'clock, and the link to the Zoom is on our website under the events page. And it makes sense, if you can, to sign into that Zoom meeting with the item you're having an issue with. That way you can share it with Tim, and Tim can help you more easily.
Okay, so just going into the on the web, the Peterborough page and sign in.
Well, no, you'll go to the events page on the Peterborough website, and you'll see tech drop-in, which will have the Zoom link, and then you click on the Zoom link and sign in. It makes sense?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And they can show that to you, Kath, if you stop by the library. And a heads up to everyone, we just sent out a newsletter. We will still have computer appointments. Tim will do his work virtually, but we are actually putting a stop to in-person browsing for the foreseeable future after the holidays, just because of the uptick in COVID cases, unfortunately. So we'll let you know when that resumes. But we can help you through email or by telephone anytime.
Well, somebody said when I was in there yesterday that, oh, well, this is going to go until the new library opens.
We don't know for sure. Obviously, nobody can guarantee anything at this point. So anyway, Tim, thank you so much for this class, and I hope everybody got something out of it. If you have any further questions, feel free just to email me, and I will follow up with Tim and get some answers for you.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you both.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.